Hola, bienvenidos. Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Recruiting Podcast. Yo soy Alex Rojas, your talent advisor and host. And in today's episode, it's all about Spanglish recruiters. That's right. Why talent acquisition teams should consider hiring Hispanic and Latino professionals. That's right. So as you can see here, we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to talk a little bit more about myself, share with you my experiences, my background, my culture, so that we can shed some light on why it's really advantageous for companies to go ahead and consider hiring diverse candidates like Latino recruiters. So for me, Spanish was my first language, and so I was one of those kids that actually had to go to speech classes in order to refine my English language. But my parents were not born in the United States, so I consider myself to be first generation American. They were born in Colombia and El Salvador. South and Central America blend is what I have. And so really for me, in order to validate my Spanish here to you, let me give you a little bit. Mi español no está tan bueno porque no puedo practicar. Mi abuelita ya no está aquí conmigo, entonces es poco difícil. And what I just said was, my Spanish is not that great. I am conversational. I don't have my grandmother. She's no longer with us. And so I can't practice with her as much as I'd love to. But for me, when we look at the Hispanic sort of culture and what's happening in this country, what's happening in the workforce, I have seen such a dramatic change over the last 3 decades. We're close to 50 million Hispanic Latinos here in the U.S. And of course, there are some heavy issues dealing with immigration that continues to increase that population. But it has changed quite significantly. And so we see things now, even the classification as far as what is a Latino versus a Hispanic. Now there's different classifications for Cubans and Puerto Ricans. You got to definitely give Puerto Ricans their own spot there. Mexicans even have one. And so ultimately, when you look at Latinos really are cultures that come from South and Central America. And then being Hispanic means you come from a Spanish-speaking country. So those are the two distinctions there. So now that I've given you the Spanish 101 culture crash course here, in this episode, again, I want to give you 5 reasons why you should consider hiring recruiters that have that Spanish background, that culture background, and how it can contribute to your diversity initiatives as well. And on top of that, if you stick around to the end of this episode, I definitely want to share some a little bit more personal stories and some insights into, again, to my background, my cultural experiences, and things of that nature. So soy listo. I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's discuss. Okay, so I'm going to go through the 5 reasons why you should consider hiring Latino Hispanic recruiters and how they can be an asset for your organization and how it relates to talent acquisition. So, número 1, familia and relationships. That's right. When we look at Hispanics and Latinos, the first area here is family values and community. As a culture, we really value family first. Family is so important to us in our culture, and it's always about being there for one another, supporting one another. And so we really take that to heart. So when we're part of an organization, part of a company, those family values and that sense of being a part of a community is really important to us, and it comes naturally. The second area under familia and relationships is going to be interpersonal skills. Our behaviors, are really on overdrive. We're very passionate. We have a lot of inflection in our voice. We have a lot of energy sometimes. So we love to engage. We love to interact. I tend to consider ourselves to have very good, strong work ethic, especially when you look at manual labor type of opportunities that are out there. But that's translating into the professional white-collar workspace as well. Third area that we look at is that, again, kind of like family values, we also really embrace people. And it's always people first. We love people. We love getting to know people, understanding others and their backgrounds. And we always have sort of a curiosity stake behind that. Those 3 areas, when it comes to family and relationships, really embodies the spirit of our culture and who we are. Okay, so number two, collaboration and community. So if we look at, again, how this translates, how hiring a recruiter that has a Latino Hispanic background and how that translates over to talent acquisition, the first area under collaboration and community is going to be group success. So we, as Latinos, we really do identify with positivity within the family unit, within the community. It's really important for us to making sure that there's commitment levels on things that are required of us as a community, as a group. And so we really do harness that part of it as well. We are also very natural team players. And so we know our strengths, we know our limitations, we know our weaknesses. So we know what we're good at. And when we're not good at something, our uncles, our tios, they'll be the first ones to tell us, or our cousins, our primos, they'll be the first one to tell us that we're not good at something in a teasing and loving kind of way. We got thick skin, so we can absorb it, but we like to tease and make fun of each other in some of these areas. And so we also recognize where our strengths are. And again, that's translatable. And then the other area that when we look at collaboration and community is really when it comes down to experiences. And I'll give you a perfect example. When we look at the food, cooking, and eating experiences as a Latino, as a Hispanic, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like Sunday dinners with my abuelita making dinners and all the family coming together and having these really tremendous meals that is really soul food to the spirit. And so we enjoy our experiences. We enjoy all of it. And that does translate into talent acquisition, because talent acquisition is a full life cycle process. It's filled with experiences. We're constantly looking at the candidate experience, the hiring manager experience, right? So those types of things are really important. And again, experiential type of culture background translates really nicely into talent acquisition. Número tres, conversational and diversity. Okay, number three, conversational and diversity. Okay, so when we think about this area as a Hispanic, as a Latino, it's pretty obvious that we are multilingual and bilingual, and we can be a little Spanish lingual, if that's even a thing. That's right. So we have to flirt around, we have to dance around the command of the language. There are some really amazing bilingual Latinos that really harness in their language, and they can fluctuate from both ends. But as we go from first generation to second generation of Latino Hispanics, it becomes more Spanglish, and I kind of grew up in a Spanglish type of upbringing environment. It really just, again, depends on my surroundings and how close my family is to me, and those types of measures. But by having sort of this, the ability to pivot into different language skill sets, it really does provide us sort of that directness and also that patience, when it comes to the command of the language. Also, we have a really good ear for accents. So whenever we're engaging in other cultures that have heavy, thick accents, a lot of our family members may have accents as well. And so we can kind of just play a little bit in tune to that as well. So another area is communication skills. And so again, I kind of mentioned this, we're very highly expressive, we're passionate. We have a lot of dynamic personalities when it comes to family members. And so you have to have the ability to crosstalk, to articulate ideas, concepts. And that's why when we all come together, sometimes we're a little too loud, and it can be overwhelming for people that are not used to that type of culture. And then the third area that we want to look at when it comes to conversational and diversity standards, I guess, that we have as a culture, really is the diversity when it comes to perspective. We have very diverse perspective, meaning we're very familiar with a lot of the challenges that maybe other cultures or other countries or other people that come from different parts of the world that they go through, and the struggles that stand behind that. So we're highly sensitive to that. We're relatable to that. We can tune in to those pieces. And again, this is a diversity type of initiative. This is one of the biggest strengths that I think Hispanics and Latinos do bring to the table when it comes to that intuitiveness of diversity. Okay, numero cuatro, number 4, it's all about adaptability and resilience. Now, this is a highly sensitive one here. So as Latinos and Hispanics, I would say these 3 areas we're very tuned in on. So the first one's going to be social issues. When we think about social issues, everything, especially what's going on in the United States today when it comes to immigration, illegal immigration, I have had the personal experience of having family relatives that have come here legally and illegally. So I understand, I'm very in tune with immigration. Faith is also a big part of our culture. So putting God first and having our faith, and predominantly a lot of Latinos and Hispanics are Catholic centric, but that has actually changed a lot, quite significantly over the last decade as well. So everything dealing with crime and gang members and drug cartels and things of that nature, again, those are areas, again, that we're very in tune because it runs rampant in South America and Central America. And so the family units, when it comes to marriages and things of that nature, are at risk a lot of times too, even though there's always a commitment to keep families together in the Spanish culture. The second area is going to be economic challenges. And so when we think about economic challenges, again, everything relating to poverty, to wealth, to the education system. And so, a lot of times us as a culture, Latinos as a culture, as we're trying to assimilate into the United States, there's a level of intimidation, there's a level of fear in the acclimation of U.S. culture, American culture, pop culture, things of that nature. And so that does take some time. Those are challenging opportunities that a lot of Latino Hispanics have to go through as well. And so we're very in tune with those aspects of it. And then finally, the third area on adaptability and resilience comes down to really political controversy. And if you can go back and look at Central South America for decades and decades, for centuries, it seems like there's always been issues, whether it's communism, socialism, dictatorship, drug cartel, guerrillas, which has been a big part of my life upbringing, was always being fearful of the guerrillas in Colombia and things of that nature. And the impact, the negative impact that those things have had, not only within their countries, but within the U.S. and even on a global scale. So again, there's a lot of adaptability, there's a lot of resilience behind that. And because of these things, we're highly sensitive not only to Spanish culture when it comes to these hot topics and hot issues. So when things are happening in our country, in America, again, we're relatable to that. And finally, numero 5, number 5, culture and global awareness. And so when we think about American culture, we love American culture. We're really in tune with the shopping, the retail, the stores, the entertainment, the sports, the passion for American football, which is my first passion. But yeah, American culture, everything that surrounds it, the music, everything that revolves American culture, we love, we really enjoy. The second area is that as Hispanics and Latinos, we have a really good perspective as far as a broader worldview. We understand, we have a good understanding of different dynamic cultures that are out there, and they can be of different faiths. They can be Muslim, they can be Buddhist, again, they can be European, different Asian cultures. A lot of times, there's a lot of similarities when it comes to understanding these different broader worldviews or cultures, especially when it comes to the family dynamics and their religion and their faith that they're centered on, because there's such a high level of commitment. And then the third area is really going to be cultural experiences. And so for us, if you're a recruiter and you're talking to somebody that is not homegrown American and comes from a different culture, it's much easier for us to build rapport with people that are foreigners, that are international or global. And so again, we're familiar with their challenges, and there's just like this sort of natural energy or connection that happens anytime that two people not from the U.S. come together, and there's sort of an understanding that goes on. It's hard to kind of put my finger on it as I express this, try to express this on this, but it's really important. And one of the reasons why I think is a major asset for companies to hire recruiters with Hispanic and Latino background because of those cultural experiences. So there you have it, the 5 reasons why talent acquisition teams should consider hiring recruiters that have a Hispanic or Latino background, otherwise known as Spanglish recruiters, but there are purely Spanish recruiters that do this from a living, especially from a recruiting from a LatAm standpoint. There's a lot of international global recruiting, and so a lot of times, again, recruiting in the main language, the first language being Spanish, is a major asset to any organization. So as we get into closing commentary, I wanted to just leave you with a few additional insights into my personal background and experiences. And I would say, again, this is just insights that I'd like to share with you. So one of the biggest things, and I kind of mentioned this throughout the podcast, is when it comes to assimilation into the U.S., one of the biggest things for us as Latino Americans or Hispanics is faith and country. And so again, because a lot of Latinos are Catholic in nature, Christian denominations is a big fabric for our faith, for a lot of Spanish-speaking citizens or non-citizens in the U.S. And so my grandmother, she immigrated here, didn't know a lick of Spanish, actually had a very minimal education in elementary. But when she got here, and she got here to the U.S., she had love for country. And I can recall growing up, always seeing here, in her living room, she would always have this display of the cross, of the Pope, and she always had an American president there. So I used to see, Jimmy Carter, I saw Ronald Reagan, I saw George Bush, Clinton, and I'd always ask her, how can you just, swap the presidents in there and be okay with it? And so she had told me that she had a love for country and she was behind her president no matter who it was. And so American dreams are also a big part of the fabric of really, anybody coming into the U.S. It doesn't just have to be Hispanic or Latino descent, but the pursuit of education and living in a nice neighborhood and buying a home and having kids to play in a safe area and being financially secure for your future is also an important part of it. And for us, life is a celebration. And so we enjoy laughing. We enjoy dancing, the salsa, the merengue, right? We love going out and celebrating birthdays and honoring birthdays and making them so special. Again, we love the dining, the eating, the food, and we love celebrating holidays, and we do it in a very festive, cultural way. That's why Cinco de Mayo is so big, right? That is for us a lot of times happening regularly throughout the year. We don't just wait for once a year to have a Cinco de Mayo. And so again, I think overall, I think one of the things that I've noticed as a Latino American here in this country is the work ethic that a lot of people that I know that come from Spanish countries and Spanish backgrounds, and the work ethic translates into recruiting, because recruiting is a very natural state for us as Latino Americans. It's a lifestyle DNA fit for us as recruiters. And so that's why I encourage you that if you're considering that, go ahead and take a chance in hiring a Latino as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. I hope this episode was informative. Please remember to like, to subscribe, and to comment, and to share. And until next time, remember, it's all about the mindset. Adios and ciao for now.